Today, we're going to talk about how to instantly clear your mind no matter how busy or overwhelmed you feel.
Life is beautiful.
Mike Krzyzewski, otherwise known as Coach K, is the winningest coach in the history of Division I men's college basketball. We just talked about him in a previous episode.
He's a goat in the coaching world for sure.
He has 5 national titles in addition to 3 Olympic gold medals.
Yeah, he's great when you see the NBA players that he coaches in the Olympics and how highly they speak of him.
And not just in the Olympics, he's also coached NBA stars while they were at Duke in college. So he's coached Jason Tatum, Zion Williamson, Kyrie Irving, and so many more NBA superstars. Not just stars, but superstars.
Mm-hmm.
And if you ask those players what they remember most, it's not the wins or the championships. They always recall the same exact phrase that he used to scream from the sidelines that they will never forget. And it's just 2 simple words. Do you know what they are?
I do.
Same.
Next play.
Next play. That is what today's episode is about. 2 simple words, but 2 really powerful words.
The next play mindset.
Yes, sir.
It's a really powerful concept. Why is it a powerful concept, Mike?
Because it forces you to focus on the next thing, which is the only thing in your control. So I think the cool thing about it is that it works in both ways. And going back to the basketball analogy, why it was so powerful for these players then is because whether or not you just slammed down a dunk or hit a buzzer beater 3-pointer, which are all positive things, or you just missed a game-winning 3-pointer or missed an open layup, a very easy shot, next play. It doesn't matter what just happened. That is out of your control. The last play is dead. The only thing that matters is getting you back into the next play.
Yeah.
And it's an analogy for basketball, but it's also an analogy for life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it also reminds me, we talked about on the podcast before, the story of Roger Federer, right? He won 80% of his matches, but he only won 54% of his points. So if you think about someone who lost a lot, right? That's a guy who lost a lot of points. Basically, every other point he lost.
Mm-hmm.
But his trick with that study that was done was that he was able to get right back after he lost that point to get back to, the status quo of being a champion in the next play. And it's very similar to this Coach K concept.
Do you know where Coach K got it from?
I know that he went to West Point, I believe, so I'm sure that it has something to do with that.
Yeah, so he played point guard at the U.S. Military Academy, where he served as an Army captain before coaching. And in the military, he said when something went wrong at a mission, you don't get to sit with what just happened. You have to adapt and move on to the quote-unquote next play or die, basically.
That's life or death.
Exactly.
Right?
So he took that philosophy into the basketball court.
Yeah, I feel like surgeons probably have a similar concept that they have to deal with when they're in the operating room and something goes wrong. It's like you can't just go nuts. You have to, all right, what are we going to do next?
What are we going to do about it?
Yeah.
Right? The blood is splattering everywhere. What are we going to do about it?
On a deeper level, why do you think this works so effectively?
I think it works so effectively because it's so simple. Right. And I think especially basketball is such a good analogy for life because basketball is one of those sports where there's really not a lot of stoppage time. And it's very similar to life where there's really not a lot of stoppage time. So in a sport like football, after first down, there's time between each play. There's a lot of time where you can process what just happened. In basketball, you don't have time to process what just happened. It's a never ending flow of events.
Yeah.
Other than a couple timeouts here and there, but they're not very long. And I think life is very similar in the way that shit is going to happen and you don't get a lot of time in your busy day to even process that thing. But a lot of times we carry those mistakes that we make or even the successes that we make. So the successes make us complacent and the mistakes make us scared of failing again. And no matter if it's a mistake or something that gets you high up on a high horse, the best thing you can do is just tell yourself next play. And it's all about inner talk, really, is what I think.
I agree. I agree with what you said about how it's just a simple pattern interrupt with just those 2 words. But on a deeper level, what I think is that what you're doing really is interrupting a story from taking hold in your mind. A narrative that says, "Oh, I messed up really bad. I wonder if I'm going to mess up again, or I wonder who's thinking about this mess up, right? It's a pattern interrupt that stops the rumination from happening and gets you into the present moment.
Yeah.
And I think
100%.
that's what we know about sports from playing it, is it's such a mental game.
Yeah.
And if you stay in your head, you're dead.
I'm going to end this episode with Coach K's actual quote about his famous philosophy of next play. He says, essentially, what next play means is that what you have just done is not nearly as important as what you are doing right now. To waste time lamenting a mistake or celebrating success is distracting and can leave your team unprepared for what you are about to face now. It robs you of the ability to do your best at that moment and to give it your full concentration. So it's all about the present moment. It's all about letting go of the past in each moment and being ready for that next play.
Yeah.
And with that said, let's wrap this up with a call to action.
What do you got?
I think it's really simple. It's add this term, next play, to your mindset tool belt. I've joked that our mindset tool belts are getting really heavy, but I think there's an opportunity to use this phrase at some point in your day when something goes wrong or there's a huge success that happens. It's like, don't get too high, don't get too low. It's just next play.
Yeah. I love that. And I think that I'm going to continue manifesting our comeback on The Amazing Race. And when we do come back on The Amazing Race, we got to use this.
I'm doing a lot of that manifesting. A lot of it.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for hanging out with us. We love you.
Peace.